How do I start this thing?
Have you plugged the bloody USB in?
Yeah, it's in.
Nah, man, that's the wrong port. Oh, wait, it's flashing now.
It's recording.
Well, let's start this thing, fool!
Hello, everyone. I'm Amelia.
Hi, I'm Sam. Welcome to Ask the Duo podcast, a podcast where we get deep into those late-night, unfiltered conversations.
We'll be discussing all things lifestyle, relationship, mindset, and more.
Alright, let's get to it! Yeah, so that was a good reflection on the past, and it was interesting to get to really recap on what we went through.
And how crazy our party life was
Yeah.
back in the day.
Yeah, so I guess the next point is did Asian upbringing really, I guess, push us to gravitate towards more of an Asian, I guess, partner? Is that something that you were always looking for, or is that just something that you...
Like, from your partner telling you that you have to... your parents saying that you have to find...
like an Asian, boyfriend or something like that?
I think that'd be interesting to discuss, because I don't think I've ever asked you that before, so it'd be good to see...
Yeah, but for you to start off, is that
pushing
something...
out to me.
Yeah, is that something that... your mum and dad always...
I don't know. I would say it was loosely pushed on me because my family dynamics is a bit different to what you would say a usual family is. We don't talk about anything that's intimate or close or relationships. Like, a lot of the things is I don't know how to say it. It's like they hint to you, but they don't directly say you need to do this or you need to do that. It's just like, this shouldn't happen or you shouldn't do this or something like that. It's very wishy-washy, I guess. It's not straight to the point. So I think from what I gathered, they would definitely prefer that I dated within the Asian community, but it was never something that they voiced exclusively saying, hey, you need to find an Asian partner. But at the same time, I think as a daughter in a family, it was more pushed that I shouldn't be hanging out with guys. I shouldn't be dating anyone. Don't date till you're 30 or don't date till you finish uni. That was more what it was like. But on top of that, they just never spoke about relationships or, anything about that intimate things. Never got spoken about.
And do you wish that your parents did? Is that something that ever came through your mind?
No, it never came to my mind, but I think it would be good to know a bit more on a personal, deeper level on how they, either found each other, that kind of thing. But it's a really hard thing to talk about because my family is quite broken, to be honest. So I think on top of that, that also is why no one really spoke about any of those things, because from their experience they either didn't work out or they're divorced or that kind of thing. So I think people just didn't talk about that side of things. But I think to know even how all that happened or, just the relationship advice in that kind of sense would be good to know. But in terms of dating in the Asian culture or finding an Asian partner, no, they didn't really talk about that.
Yeah, okay. For me, it was my parents never really drilled in my mind that I had to gravitate towards a specific type of culture or a specific type of girl. It was never you have to date an Asian girl or you have to date a Vietnamese girl or a Chinese girl.
That's good.
None of that shit. It was whoever you like, I don't give a shit as long as she's,
But did they actually tell you that? I don't mind who you end up with as long as they're blah, blah, blah.
So the funny thing is no, they never told me directly. But having my sister there, my sister sort of helped me with, I guess, dating. Well, not directly, but
seeing how she went through her.
Well, no. So outside of that, it was she always spoke to my parents when I had girlfriends and always...
so you made her talk to
them? No. So my sister just went to them and sort of had a suss of for example, when I first dated when I was in high school, I dated a half caste girl. She was half Aussie, half Philo. And my mum was fucking like, she was, bananas. She was crazy. She was like
would
a
you say
typical
she's
Asian
a tiger
mum.
mum?
Yeah, she was like a tiger mum who was like, always thinking about why I'm going out, how late I'm going out, who is this girl, personality, character, all that sort of stuff, right? But my sister was always like, oh, I'm sure she's fine. And, she was that behind the scenes trying to have a gaze and suss of what my parents thought.
Yeah.
And sort of instilled in their mind that it was all good.
Yeah.
So it was good to have her in that regard behind the scenes.
Yep.
But I know that they always spoke to her directly about girls and what they thought who I should be, etc. And that's when my sister sort of passed that information down to me. So it was good having her sort of there in the background.
The mediator.
Yeah, sort of that mediator, sort of that person to be like, oh yeah, mum, dad doesn't really care as long as, you're happy, plus as long as she's not a good person.
Yeah. She's not a good person.
No, as long as she's a good person.
Finding the bad girls, eh?
No.
That's good though. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like, having that was good because there's no pressure.
Yeah. But then, so because of that, both our parents didn't exclusively or directly say that you need to find an Asian partner. Do you think you just naturally gravitated towards finding an Asian, or was it a conscious choice that you want to find an Asian partner?
Well, I mean, I didn't consciously, I wasn't going out there to specifically look. Because I'm whatever. I'll date whatever.
Yeah.
I'll date a black chick, I'll date a white girl, Latino, whatever. I don't care.
Yeah.
Skin color doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is you as a person and you as a personality, right?
Yeah.
So I think the biggest thing that I learned when I was a kid was obviously my sister. Learning from her issues that she had when she was growing up as a teenager.
Yeah.
Like what she dealt with guys and that sort of stuff. So that sort of helped me go, well, okay, I need to, I guess, define what my expectations are when I look for girls too.
Yeah.
So I think having that definition and clarity helped me sort of make my mission easier, because then I can go, well, when I'm talking to girls, when I'm looking for girls, I know exactly what I want. So, it wasn't a specific choice as to Asians specifically at the start of my journey.
Yeah.
Probably later down the track, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
That's
was
actually interesting. This kind of goes a little bit off topic, but we did do a previous podcast talking about Love is Blind and physical attraction. I think what brings to mind now when I said that I have a neutral feeling, I guess, towards someone's appearance, and I don't think of anything until I know their character, which is true. But now that I think about it, I'm very different to you. I naturally and also did consciously want to find an Asian partner, but that also stems back into what I talked about in the past, is a lot of the times I just don't understand like Western slang, Aussie slang, and how that communication and their joke and all that kind of stuff. I just didn't understand it. And I understand the Asian culture and how they talk a lot more. So that's also why I looked for Asians more specifically. So I think that's the only thing in physical appearance that I would look for when I was talking about the Love is Blind thing. So that just came to mind. I thought I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, and I guess to what you sort of allude to is it is sort of true later down the track in life as you experience things and stuff like that. It sort of pushed me towards Asians, and the reason why is because as I grew older, being friends with multiple people, just exposing yourself, you kind of get a gauge as to how different, I guess, different cultures or backgrounds depict how they think about things, what they, priority wise, in life. and that sort of stuff. And I always
I
found
think
that
it's more values and
Yeah,
values and
values.
morals for me.
Yeah, values, morals, and priorities in life,
Mm.
which basically define you as a person, as a character, right?
Yeah.
So I found that the Western culture people were different in their life, like
Yeah.
just their goals.
And
in
I
life.
think even though, yes, we live in Australia, but we did grow up in an Asian upbringing. And sometimes when you relay some of those upbringing challenges, like for example, most of my friends couldn't go out past 8 o'clock. And if you would tell your, Western friends or Aussie friends, they'd be like, why? Just come out. But they don't understand the extent of how hard it is to get out past 8 o'clock. It's like as if you're going for a job, you're taking leave, you need to go through a whole application process to be able to go out.
To go out, yeah.
Just to hang out for an hour with your friends. And it's just that understanding that they didn't understand. So sometimes gravitating towards people who actually understand that, then they'll be like, oh yeah, that's cool, we'll just find another day, or maybe we'll come to your house or something like that. Whereas like back then people were just like, why? Just come out. And you're just like, I can't. Like, and they're like, oh, just sneak out the window. And you're like, dude, you don't know the consequences that will come if they find out that you snuck out. You would probably actually be kicked out, be chucked, not allowed back home for like a few days just as a punishment because you went out at 8 o'clock.
Yeah, and that's a big, I guess, difference between the Western culture is, their upbringing with parents and stuff like that is so different in the way they socialize, the way they see things from some age point.
Yeah.
It's very different.
Yeah.
So I think for me, eventually I sort of gravitated towards Asians. But even still now, like I'm open as long as it's the character, right?
Yeah, it's always character,
So-
like the nationality or even ethnic, whatever behind that. It really doesn't matter.
mean much,
But it's
yeah.
just that sometimes you do find that they understand you a bit more because they've gone through similar situations.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, if that particular person was open to things and understand and understood, took the time to
Yep.
try to understand,
Yeah.
then yeah, okay, that's what I see, that's what I seek. Sorry,
Mm.
so
So back to what we're actually talking about. So you were very open to different types of, partners. It didn't have to be Asian, but in the end, you just naturally ended up with an Asian.
because
partner.
obviously, growing up, I was always around Westerners. All my friends are Westerners, so that was naturally what I was exposed to.
Yeah.
And then obviously later in life, that's when I sort of was more around Asians and stuff like that.
Mm.
So obviously gravitating towards that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was kind of the same, and I was very, yes, I was looking for, I wouldn't even say from high school to, uni and stuff, I was never a person that was like, oh, I need to find a partner, I need to find a boyfriend. I was never like that. It just naturally occurred to me, so I wasn't exclusively going out, I was like, oh, that Asian guy is cute, or I need to look for this person. But I still gave, I kept an open mind and did actually end up dating a white guy. But again, there's definitely clear cultural differences that was very, very, apparent. And yeah, it just didn't work out.
And the crazy thing when we look back in the early times is during my high school upbringing, Westerners and the mindset about girls was so apparent. And it was crazy because I thought I was weird, but I never really thought about girls. I didn't think about finding a partner. I didn't think about sex and stuff like that. But it seemed like Westerners always thought about that stuff.
Yeah, that's the thing with my school before I moved to the one when I met you. It was all about that. Everything was about sex. Everything was about guys. And that was the biggest thing that I couldn't relate to, because even though I was exposed to it in that manner in school, and then my parents never talked about it, no one talked to me about that stuff. Somehow naturally it just didn't make it a priority to me. Maybe because the parents didn't prioritize it in my mind. I don't know, but I just didn't have that priority, and I just didn't understand.
I think that what helped me sort of gravitate away from that was, having a close relationship with my sister. I understood from a teenager's point of view of, I guess, that female side.
Yeah.
and it never pushed me to think that way. So I always was like, I guess I was always respectful when it came to girls, and I didn't think of that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
You know, so it's kind of like, well, I never understood why, you know, my friends in high school were like, all talking about girls and trying to get some pussy and shit like that.
And when you go to like those, you know, the blue light disco dance.
Well, our school had International Carnival is what it was called. But basically, we hosted a dance party for different
those
schools.
awkward hands on hip, like jiggle jiggle.
Yeah, that's what we did, yeah. And like, that was awkward but like, some of the dudes would try and tune chicks like that. And
yeah, they were always talking about like, oh, I kissed this guy, or this guy kissed me. And
yeah,
like,
I finger popped this bitch while I was dancing. I was like, shit!
Yeah, but I never got into that. Like, I
never understood it.
It went over my head, technically. I was just like, cool.
Yeah, and like, for me, like, in high school, I got into dancing. So, you know, my sister was a big influence from that. Like, she did hip-hop dancing, Corey, that sort of shit. So, like, that pushed me to do dancing too. So, my mind frame at that time was, yeah, let's jam, let's freestyle jam right now. Like let's battle, let's do this sort of shit. So, I never really thought about chicks. I didn't give a shit about chicks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that was never my front of mind, but...
So, before meeting me, though, or, like, being with me, was your ideal partner... Like, when you started to think about finding a partner, a girlfriend, was your... You're disgusting. Why are you picking your toes?
Yeah, picking my skin, bro.
That's disgusting. You better wash your hands. No, anyway, so, like, was your... This is what I have to deal with, guys. Was your ideal partner... Like, was I categorized into what you thought your ideal partner would be?
I don't think I had an ideal partner, to be honest, because everyone's different, right? I think what meant more to me was, I guess, you as a person, as long as the foundation ticked roughly those boxes.
So what was those foundations that you would look for?
Well, it's the character, right? So personality, respect, the values.
But like, can you go deeper
goals.
Into what those values or personality that you would look for?
I mean, someone that is respectful, has morals, you know what I mean, understood, you know, what's the boundaries in life, when to push those boundaries in life, to always have a smile and laugh at stupid things, like you're laughing at me right now.
Because I can't get over that you picked your toes. And you're still doing it. What the hell? Stop it.
Oh, hey, mate.
So I'm glad this is not video, because
you guys will see I've got a bit of a dry foot. But anyway, that's off topic. Yeah, like those sort of things where, you know, that I guess individual development is a really important thing, and being open to self-improve and to be open for feedback and stuff like that. That's important because, yes, you being in a relationship as a team has to have some sort of substance, but some growth.
But is that something that you uncovered over time, like meeting other girlfriends?
100%, yeah. And obviously when I first dated, you know, my first girlfriend, I knew nothing, right? So you're not exposed to that. You're figuring out yourself, but then you're figuring out this other person who's a female.
Yeah.
It was only really until later in life, probably just around when we started sort of dating, was when I already knew what I wanted or knew my expectations.
Yeah.
So yeah, experience does definitely have a play, but you don't figure that out until you sort of go out there, get your hands dirty, you know, figure out, go through all this shit in life to know what you're really wanting.
Yeah. And I'm kind of the same, but I didn't grow these, I wouldn't say criteria, but I didn't grow these expectations or what I think is an ideal partner from actually dating. I think because my family has all these, you know, a broken family, I see the struggles, the problems, and from that is what I learned. I'm like, I can't find a partner who does this, or I need to find a partner who's more open, honest, straight to the point, like no lying and all that kind of stuff. So even though I haven't dated a lot, I wouldn't, I didn't really date. You're pretty much my first serious partner ever, one and only. But somehow from these like shit experiences from growing up in a very broken family, that already built my knowledge on what I need to find.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think on top of that, it was just, I wouldn't call it luck. I don't know if it's like fate or destiny or whatever, but you as a person was, all those things that I didn't have when I was growing up.
Yeah, and I think that would have definitely helped you have clarity as to which direction you want because of all that shit that you obviously went through.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, for me, it was like I had to learn from just experience, right? And I think probably 50% of the people out there is pretty much will be in the same boat because as you experience life, you go through those, stages where you learn, you get dumped into the hard water and stuff like that. But that's the only way that you will be exposed to that.
Mm.
And then you've got other people who basically grew up in an environment like that, like yourself, who were exposed to that. So you already have that instilled in your mind.
Yeah.
But, I mean, like I said, I didn't have an idea as to what my ideal partner is, but...
Yeah, I don't think I actually had a straight, 1, 2, 3, 4, you tick these boxes kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I had a sort of loose idea of what I didn't want or I didn't want to see in a relationship.
Yeah.
So that was helpful, but, I didn't have a criteria box for an ideal partner.
Yeah, and that's pretty much the same thing for me too. But I mean, the whole point of a relationship is to really work together and build your relationship up, right? Because it's never going to be fucking roses and petals in a bloody
daisy field.
Daisy field. So I mean, like that's that's the whole point of going through this, right? Is and I think as long as you both are, I think we're both in that sort of situation where we have that mutual agreement, we know what we're signing up to.
Yeah.
It's not a short-term thing, then...
Yeah, I've never been a person that... Like, I get that there are people, like, out there who just want to explore and have fun, which is really cool, but I was never that type of person. I think especially from my family, I see it as if I get into something, it's for the long run, and it's...
you give it all your all.
Like, I have to see, like, a long-term thing with this person. It's not like I'm gonna try it out, see how it's gonna go kind of thing. Like, from their values, their morals, their character, like, it's something that they can bring to the table for a long-term thing, not just for, hey, he's a cool guy, gonna hang out, and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, all respects to people who do want to explore in that manner, but that wasn't for me.
Yeah, and, I see eye to eye when it comes to that sort of situation. And I mean, I've tried that before. I've tried, like, a short-term thing, like a fling thing. And it's just like, cool, short-term, we did this and that, but...
Is it different, though? Do you feel like there was no emotional connection between that and it was all for fun? Like, was it different?
100%. It's different because if, going into that situation, it was all about physical attraction. Something that we spoke about in that previous episode, right? It was purely physical attraction. There was no emotional... I guess was it? There was no
we like
emotion.
That Teletubby when other talk, they don't even talk. They're like,
oh, yeah, okay.
I think it's Teletubby. I don't know. No, Pingu.
Pingu. Yeah.
Pingu.
Yeah, there was no emotional, I guess, connection there because
like
it was
you can't
just
talk on a deep level where you talk about your problems or something.
Yeah, there was nothing like that. So that's why it was so different and it was weird because it's just like, okay, cool, we've done it because of a physical point.
Yeah.
But it was never like switching that into a long-term thing because it's just nothing there.
Yeah.
So yeah, 100% it was just so different.
Yeah.
So I mean, kudos for the people out there who do that stuff on a daily or whatever.
And it's still, and it may become a relationship like
it might switch over, but I mean, it just did, it was weird for me. So,
yeah, I think that's all we wanted to find out from each other from this one, was just an extension of how we met, and also if you naturally gravitated towards to find an Asian partner, if that was something that your family wanted you to do or find, and just seeing if I was your ideal partner from the start, like what you thought of as an ideal partner, or has that changed over time?
yeah, I don't think it's realistically changed, but
Like the base of it hasn't changed.
yeah, the
but
base
like
of it hasn't changed, but obviously
smaller
the
experiences.
finer details, the experience definitely have a play to that.
How does it feel to be my one and only long-term partner, and you pretty much hit the nail on the head? Is that what you call it?
That was the weirdest laugh. No, look, I don't think of it like that. And I know a lot of people have asked me the same thing. Oh, what is it like to date with, or to be with someone for X amount of years? Like, you know, I get people go, hey man, like, what is it like to be in a long-term relationship? Because you could have had so much pussy and you could have fucked all these other chicks or get with all
I
these
just
other
see it
girls.
as like, if you truly do enjoy being with that person, it's nothing different as opposed to you having a best friend for the last 20 years. It's the same thing, except like, you know, you're in a romantic relationship, but the base of it, you're still, you know, have a really good friend that you've known for a long time. Like, you don't go and ask, what's it like having the same best friend for the last 20 years?
Yeah, and that's kind of where I'm come at, is it's like, well, I never really thought about, you know, evaluating my situation with you. It's kind of like, well, it's just...
Yeah, because you shouldn't have like that fear of missing out thing. If you're truly happy with that person, you shouldn't be like, oh, I could have been doing this, or I missed out on this and that.
Well, I mean, look, there definitely is things where you think back and go, shit, I should have or could have done that ages ago as an experience. Of course, people reminiscent those sort of things, but it's just like, well, with this, it's just like, well, I've never really went in that direction and thought about it. But is that the same thing for you? You'd feel that way, or you just kind of like...
Feel what?
In terms of, you know, anyone sort of question that long-term relationship? Like, did anyone sort of go, hey, what does it feel like to be with someone for this long? Or, you know, did you miss out any opportunities and stuff like that?
Well, no one's really asked me if I missed any opportunities, but I think people do come and ask me what's it like after being in a relationship for so long. Because obviously, maybe your first 1 to 3 years, you're, you know, very close. You guys are still really into getting to know each other even more.
The honeymoon stage.
Yeah, honeymoon phase, and then over time, you see these like kind of dramas or TV shows where you get comfortable, and then after that, when you get comfortable, what happens? Like, you know, when it goes from every time we go out, we're very 100% on each other, but then after the honeymoon phase, you go out, you're on your phone, I'm on my phone, like we're so comfortable in each other's space. Sometimes we sit together and we don't even need to talk, so we're not really interacting with each other, but we're there next to each other. So it's like people asking, what do you do? Like, does it change? Is it does it get boring? Or if it gets boring, what happens? Like, those are the kind of questions that I get instead. But yeah, it's the same thing. Like, I feel like these situations shouldn't change. Like, no matter how long you've been with that person, yeah, you will get comfortable, and sometimes you do catch yourself not giving 100% to your partner. But, you know, things shouldn't change in terms of how you feel towards that person, and you should always make it fun and enjoyable, because in the end, you're still spending time with each other, and you chose each other for a reason, and you shouldn't take that for granted.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that sums up what we originally wanted to talk about, because, I mean, we could definitely go deeper into it. But
yeah, there's so many different levels that you can break this apart, but that was interesting to know your background and how you thought or saw things.
Yeah, as well as yours.
Yeah.
So, bye! Thank you so much if you have reached to the end. We really appreciate you for tuning in. And if you'd like what you hear, please share it with your friends or family and subscribe to our podcast on whatever platform you are listening to.
Make sure you share any topics you'd like us to cover or questions you might have to our Instagram.
Slide it into our DMs.
Pika pika. You can also stay in the loop of all the behind the scenes and the release of our new episodes there too. Our Instagram is Ask the Duo Podcast. That's AskTheDuopodcast. Man, feels like I'm in a spelling bee competition right now. Alright, that's it for now, and we'll see you back here for our next episode. Bye!
See ya!